how many members do you have in your family? I'm willing to bet that that number in your head includes your four-legged friends. So it makes sense to include your pet in any long-term family planning, such as serious illness or loss of life. In today's Find a Friend segment, sponsored by Rascal Animal Hospital, we get some advice from our good friend Carol Gerbert, the director of the Humane Society of Delaware County. So good to see you, Carol.
You too, Robin.
So I bet a lot of people want to get to know this beautiful girl.
Absolutely.
Gosh, she is such a sweetheart. So tell us about Ella.
This is Ella. She's a 4.5-year-old chocolate lab. She's a really unique coloring, though. She's almost like a silvery
beautiful.
chocolate. She's beautiful. She loves children. She loves people. She'd prefer to be the only dog, though.
Okay.
She likes all your attention for herself. She's really active. She could be a little more active. She needs to lose a little bit of weight, so she'd be a great running partner or walking partner.
And if you have some kids, I'm sure they'd help her get a good
Oh,
workout.
yeah. She
Right?
adores children. When the kids come to the shelter to read to the animals, Ella is a big favorite because she really enjoys it. She likes to
Okay,
play
and
with
Humane
them.
Society of Delaware County, you just go there, website, Facebook page, you guys have all that
Yeah.
to try and adopt her, right?
That's right.
Okay. So as a shelter, you guys deal with all kinds of different scenarios, obviously. Recently, you had a few families with a very kind of specific dilemma, and what was that?
Yeah, we've had recently a lot of animals come in from families of the family member has passed away. Oftentimes they'll have several cats, maybe a dog, and people just don't think about planning ahead for things like that. You know, you think about you will your money and your home and your possessions, but you don't think about what you're going to do with your animals when something happens. So we've actually had several animals come in lately from situations like that. You know, and most of them are older animals, so coming to a shelter after being in a home with maybe just one person and most of their lives, it's really stressful.
And it's harder too, I know, I mean, we've talked about before, being a senior animal, when they get to that age, it's harder to adopt them out.
It is.
So it's probably much better to have a plan.
Right. Having a plan in place is really important, and a lot of lawyers and estate planners are actually helping people out with that now. So when you're talking to them about distributing out your money and your possessions, you can actually talk to them about a guardian for your animal at that time. You know, usually it's a family member. That's the first place to look. Maybe a trusted friend. And at that point when you don't have anyone else, then that's when you could talk to your community shelter. You know, we have people that actually will come to us and ask us if we can help with those plans in the event that something like that happens. That's obviously a last resort because,
Sure.
as you said, and especially with an older animal, coming to a shelter environment is really hard for them to adjust. It's hard for them to get adopted, so obviously it's a last resort, but we're here to help. But we encourage people to really have that conversation with your family and make those plans.
And it's also a conversation you should have when you're still of sound mind and body.
Right, absolutely.
Because people can get to that situation and then, like you said, they're in a bad position. And then they end up doing something. Maybe they don't want their dog to go to a shelter, but that seems like the only option at the time.
Right, yeah, planning ahead is really the key.
So if you don't make that decision, right, you don't put it in your will, I guess, who does that fall to? The executor of the estate? Who would make that decision?
Yeah, it would be the executor of your estate. Most often it's a family member. And, you know, we'll get a desperate call from someone who oftentimes doesn't even know their parent has a pet.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they go to the house to take care of the belongings, and they discover that there's a couple of cats there that they didn't know about. And recently there was a dog. So have those conversations with your family so that even if they're not the executor, they can kind of guide whoever is so that they know what the situation is.
And does it ever fall to the courts as a last resort? And
it can.
And that's not a situation you want to be in?
Right.
Okay. All right, well, all of this, too, as we've been saying, it can be avoided. Just make the plans right now. And before we go, you do want to mention you have an upcoming event that we're going to talk about. Who Let the Dogs Out?
Exactly.
So tell us about that.
So this is our second annual 5K, and we've added a 10K this year due to the how well it was received last year. We actually had an Eagle Scout do this project for us last year. This was his Eagle Scout project. Christopher Miller organized this 5K last year, and we've decided to do it again this year. It's going to be at Powell Park, same place it was last year. And you can come out with your dog and run the 5K or the 10K and join us for that. We're actually going to have some adoptable dogs there. Some of our volunteers are going to be bringing them out, so you can come out and meet them as well. It's just a fun event. Hopefully the weather's a little nicer. Last year it was really cold.
Okay, and that is April 3rd. It's a Sunday at Liberty Park in Powell. You can go to premierraces.com for that. And again, if you want to adopt Ella, Humane Society of Delaware County.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you, Robin.